Hey, what's going on guys? It's Johnny and welcome to another Genshin Impact video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the weapon banner for version 3.4. Now, I'm not sure if this was an accident or intended, but Hoyoverse did reveal the character and weapon banners for the entirety of version 3.4, so phase 1 and 2. Normally, they do reveal one phase at a time, but if this is a perm change, then I think it's gonna be fantastic because the more travelers know in advance, the better we can prep on what to pull. Going back to the weapon banner though, since we are in phase 1, we'll just be reviewing the current weapon banner featuring Light of Foliar Incision and Primordial Jade Wing Spear, which is my favorite spear in the entire game by the way. I don't pull in the weapon banners often because most of my Primogems do go into characters. However, the weapon banners have been looking pretty good lately, and therefore I decided to start pulling just recently. The weapon banners for version 3.4 are no exception, and depending on who you have, might be a really good investment. So, I want to share my thoughts on these weapons, and hopefully help some travelers out. But guys, without any further ado, let's jump right into it! First, let's discuss about Hathem's weapon, Light of Foliar Incision, which is the newest sword in the game. Immediately, travelers will probably gaze towards the secondary stat, which provides an insanely high amount of crit damage, totaling 88.2%. Because of the high crit damage though, the base attack on this weapon is on the lower end, sitting at 542, but the crit damage more than makes up for it. Crit damage is a very valuable stat to build because it allows your main and sub DPS to dish out large amounts of damage. Therefore, having a weapon that provides 88.2% crit damage will already give your DPS characters a head start. With that being said though, crit damage is reliant on your crit rate, but luckily, as part of the weapon's passive, it does provide a 4% crit rate. This might seem like a pretty small amount, because it is, but every bit of crit rate will go a long way and help towards hitting the 1-to-2 ratio. The next part of the passive reads, after normal attacks deal elemental damage, the Foliar Incision effect will be obtained, increasing damage dealt by normal attacks and elemental skills by 120% of elemental mastery. This effect will disappear after 28 damage instances or 12 seconds, so you can obtain the Foliar Incision once every 12 seconds. Now, if you're a player like myself who wants to obtain universal weapons that can work on almost anyone, then I would be cautious of the Light of Foliar, because while it has a very good passive, there are a couple limitations if you want to fully utilize this weapon. Generally, I try to avoid making a tier list because tier lists are pretty opinionated, but if I had to take a weapon like the Mistbrit of a Forge as an example, then I would put this weapon as S tier. When comparing the two, they both have the same secondary stat of crit damage. Mistbrit in particular has lower crit damage, but has a higher base attack than the Light of Foliar. What we mainly want to focus on though is the weapon passive, and what the requirements are to fully benefit from it, or at the least, most of it. If we take a look at the Mistbritter, we can see that the weapon passive provides a bunch of elemental damage and has a stacking mechanic. So long as the character equipping this weapon is able to gain stacks and does elemental damage, physical damage dealers, then the Mistbritter would be a great option for any DPS character and can go on just about anyone, making it a good investment weapon. Now, if we take a look at the Light of Foliar again, the requirements for this weapon passive is 1. Deal elemental damage through normal attacks, and 2. Have elemental mastery scaling, because unless you're building elemental mastery, you're ultimately not boosting anything. With that being said though, the Light of Foliar is still an incredible weapon and can technically still go on any DPS characters, just because of the high amounts of crit damage alone, even if you're not fully utilizing the passive. Travelers will have to ask themselves who they mainly want the weapon for. The weapon is obviously incredible on characters like Hatham and Kuching, and could honestly even outscale the Mistbritter on certain characters. If you're looking for a weapon with a very specific playstyle that can push certain favorites past their boundaries and can technically still go on any DPS character, then the Light of Foliar Incision might just be for you. Next, let's talk about a second featured weapon. The Primordial Jade Wing Spear has been around since launch and remains to be an amazing weapon, and even earned the title of Johnny's favorite spear. The secondary stat provides a moderate 22.1% crit rate and has a high base attack of 674. Its passive reads, on hit, increases attack by 3.2% for 6 seconds, max 7 stacks. This effect can occur once every 0.3 seconds. While in possession of the maximum possible stacks, damage dealt is increased by 12%. Simple and and easy to understand. For this weapon to fully gain its effects, all you have to do is attack, which is something that you'll inherently do during combat. However, there could be some challenges with maintaining your stacks though, especially when you're switching characters. Also, if your character equipping this weapon has no stacks and you go straight into your burst combo, then you might lose out on a lot of damage since you're missing out on a lot of attack and the 12% increased damage. If you can maintain your stacks though, then the Jade Spear will be a beast of a spear and shine more than ever, quite literally. Overall, P1's weapon banner for version 3.4 is honestly looking very good. Having a crit damage and crit rate weapon makes it a banner worth investing in if you're lacking in crit weapons for those weapon types. Something to note though guys is that the Jade Spear is in the standard pool, which means you could obtain it in the standard banner or even the weapon banner when you fail the 2575. Also, weapon banners can be quite brutal, which is why you should only consider pulling on the weapon banner when there are 2 weapons that you specifically want to chase after. For me personally, I'm gonna be skipping on P1's weapon banner on both my accounts, despite it being very good. My main account did pull just recently on the previous weapon banner, and I'm trying to save up some more Primo Gems because my goal is to get lots of characters. Having said that though, there are specific swords and polearms that I want to chase after for my main account. One of those weapons is the Staff of Homa, and luckily, P2's weapon banner is featuring it. The Staff of Homa has been featured a couple times, but I held off on them because the second feature weapons weren't the ones that I was particularly looking for, and I didn't want to get the Staff of Homas. We'll discuss about P2's weapon banner in another video, but this banner is going to be fantastic for my main account, and why I'll definitely be pulling on this banner. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to also turn that notification bell so you don't miss on any newly released videos. I've been Johnny D. Until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one.